This is Big Tasty Sports. We are well over halfway through the NFL season. Been rolling with best bets for 10 weeks now, going into week 11. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as you hear from a variety of different people giving their takes on things, often lining up, but sometimes not. In terms of an update on how things have been going, there's no way to sugarcoat it. The last few weeks have been brutal. Again, last week overall 3-9. It was just a bloodbath for the second week in a row. A few things that I'll say on this. Number one, I certainly can't promise that anything will turn around for me or anyone else. So if anyone ever promises you that, they shouldn't be, I guess. Number two, there are ups and downs for sure in betting. And so sometimes you're on a hot streak or seeing things well. Other times D actually talks about this a little bit when I talked to him today, where you just feel like you're not seeing the board as well and aren't as confident, which can partly be because of having a few weeks in a row where you're not winning. And that can definitely mess with your confidence. The other thing I'll say is that even with 2 bad weeks, and it's been bad across the board. I mean, the confidence level 3, 2, or 1, it's hardly mattered. All of them have been bad. Even with that, the bright spot in all of this is the confidence level 3 picks, which are still 41 and 33, even after 2 down weeks in a row. So we definitely built up a buffer there, or a cushion, where we were able to have a couple bad weeks and still be in the positive. I've actually said this for a few weeks now. It's a short sample size. I mean, we're talking about half a season, so you can't read too much into it. But the confidence level 3 picks have been outperforming everything else by a large margin. So even if you wanted to fade overall, I think it's worth listening to those confidence level 3 picks, seeing where they're at, and knowing that just as there are down weeks and can be multiple down weeks, there are, with people who put in the kind of work that they're putting in on this show, there are going to be some up weeks too. And so you don't necessarily want to miss those if you've been tailing. Not necessarily the best time jumping off. That's just personal opinion. What I've learned is generally if I have a few bad weeks and I jump off of something I believe in, that's when the regression comes in and it gets back moving the right direction. But as always, that is up to you. I am excited for our special guest this week, who also hopefully can change the mojo around here a little bit from the last few weeks, help us get things moving in a positive direction. It is at Lou Betya on Twitter. If you're not following him yet, you should be. If you need to know how to spell it, it's in the show description. So go look that up. Follow him on Twitter. Check out his YouTube stuff. Really strong on MMA. Good stuff on the World Cup that just came out, and good on NFL as well. So excited to have him on board for week 11 of Best Bets. And with that, we get into the all-star of the Best Bets show. I can't talk. Is back. Yanni Bets. Here we are. How's it going?
I haven't seen the updated rankings, but I highly doubt I'm the all-star of the show.
So here's the crazy thing. It started out like you and Phil struggled at the beginning, and then like Kevin, D, and I got a bunch right, and it's kind of gone back together the last few weeks where we're all kind of bunched back up again. So you've been coming on strong the last few weeks.
Well, unfortunately, I hit my plus money play last week, which was your Minnesota Vikings, which was I think it was plus 160.
Yep.
Obviously a nice betting win, but for me, it stung. So it's one of those that you win, but you're not necessarily thrilled you win.
Exactly. It's a consolation prize, as they say, right? It's like my temptation to bet Dallas this week, even though I don't know that I'll do it, but I'd win something that way.
Right.
The game or the bet, one of the two.
There you go.
All right. Hey, real quick before we get into it, thoughts on the move of venue for the Bills and the Browns for this weekend. Obviously, the Bills not getting to play at home now, going to Detroit, but also they'll be in a dome, no weather issues. What are your thoughts looking at that game as a Bills fan?
My first thought is, as the Bills are looking to get their new stadium built, they need to factor this in. They're not planning on building a dome. And in essence, you're giving up a home game. Yeah, I mean, and this
Yeah.
is not, and I understand it doesn't happen every single year, but you're basically in the city in the United States where it snows more than anywhere that has an outside stadium. And I don't, I guess I just don't understand that. Now, as far as this particular game, I think it's a bit of a wash. The benefit to the Bills is obviously they're on the fast track indoors. I think that kind of negates potentially the Browns having an advantage of just pounding the ball in the snow or in the cold weather there. But the flip side of that is you lose that home field advantage. I mean, there'll be some Bills Mafia there, but it's not going to be like a true home game. So I think it's a little bit of a wash when you look at it there. At the end of the day, you're glad that they are able to use their speed and the Browns may have to throw a little bit, but that home field advantage, I mean, that's big.
Yeah. That's what I wondered, what you would think about that, because it is certainly a trade-off. The Bills are a team that I think does well when the track is fast, but not being at home is always a bummer. Let me ask one more thing quick, because I just think this game is interesting at this point, maybe a little easier to cap. How does the injury report look for the Bills? What are you seeing in terms of who will be in this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's not awful, but it's not good either. And I think so. Here's one other interesting thing about the venue move. The Lions are one of, if you saw, there was a big movement the last couple of weeks about getting rid of these turf fields that are
I did
causing
see that.
injuries.
Yep.
Yeah, and Detroit is one of the four, I guess, stadiums that has this issue. And now you've got the Bills going back to back
Wow.
games on that turf, which I, as a fan, I'm concerned thinking, man, are we going to see an ACL injury out here with playing on this turf back to back weeks? But I think it impacts a couple things. I think, the Bills were talking potentially about Trey White making his debut this week. They're not going to put him on that turf. I guarantee you. I can pretty much guarantee that. So, he's going to be out. The best news they get is I think they get Jordan Poyer back at safety. And, they
Okay.
need some kind of veteran presence in that secondary, particularly when you are playing a physical team like Cleveland with Nick Chubb. I mean, you've got to have that strong veteran presence back there that they were missing. They are, I think to me, the most concerning injury they have going in is Tremaine Edmonds, their middle linebacker. And, you saw the game firsthand. That first half, Dalvin Cook really did nothing on the ground. And really, Minnesota's offense didn't do a whole lot after that first drive. When Edmonds went out with injury, all of a sudden Cook broke that long run. We saw in overtime, he was able to rip a couple of back-to-back 10-yard runs, and it
Yep.
really changed the way that they had to play. So I think that Edmonds injury is the one to watch. But all things considered, compared to some of the games that we've seen that team this year, I would say they have a normal injury slate compared to the rest of the league.
More normal. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think that's big. The Bills have been hammered by injuries, and it's an NFL team that happens to teams, but they've definitely been up there among the ones who have been hit the hardest. So,
Yep.
all right. Well, hey, let's jump into the picks for this week after some conversation about that game. A little bonus. What do you want to do for your first pick this week?
All right, I'm keeping it pretty simple here this week, and I'm going to start with a pretty yuck game, which is the LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, I'm interested in this.
Yeah, and there's no way I want anything to do with the side on this game at all, because you got two teams right now that I think are deflated. They're not very good. They're both probably on the outside looking in for the playoffs. So it's not a great compelling game there. But when Cooper Kupp went out, when they announced that injury, I put my foot down and said, if this Rams team total is higher than 17, I'm taking the under. And, you could say that's a knee jerk reaction, but I believe that. So when I looked it up right now, their team total is 17 and a half. My
Okay.
thought was if it's 17 or if it's over 17, I'm taking the under. I'm sticking with it. I don't think, first of all, I don't know if Stafford's going to play. I think that's still a question mark here. But even if he does, this team has not been able to consistently move the ball or score. The one positive that offense has had is Cooper Kupp. I don't see how you replace that. I just don't. I mean, there's such a fall off from Kupp. And I mean, honestly, he's the only weapon they have on offense at this point. I mean, Higbee's a solid tight end, but he's not going to do anything earth shattering. And even though the Saints defense has underachieved and not played well, they are at home. I feel like they can take advantage of that Rams offensive line. I just don't see how the Rams score here unless it comes defensively, which, if that happens, it happens and I'll take the loss. But I think offensively, I don't see the Rams putting up more than 17 points in this game.
Yeah. What's the line you got on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Minus 110.
Minus 110.
Yep.
So it's interesting. I mean, I don't even know if this, if this injury update is all the way updated, but this shows Stafford on IR.
I don't know. They show from what I saw, Walford and take this for what it is. This is obviously not great research. Walford is listed on DraftKings as far as like their starting quarterback. So I'm assuming Stafford's not playing. I don't know that for sure, but I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you, it doesn't matter. I like it more if Stafford's not playing, but I mean, I would
Oh,
take it either way.
so this is weird. It actually, when I read the description, it says he's in concussion protocol on the injured reserve, but is expected to return for Sunday's clash with the Saints.
Okay,
So
so yeah, I
weird
would
stuff.
like it.
I don't know.
I'd like it more without Stafford. Don't get me wrong, but I don't care. I mean, they weren't putting up points with
I agree.
Stafford, and again, it was him and Cup, and I just don't think
Yep.
he's going to be able to replicate that with Allen Robinson or Van Jefferson or whoever they're going to throw out there and try to make that work.
And besides that, they've got you and I playing offensive line, so he's not going to have any
Basically,
time to throw either. So
basically,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yep.
What's the confidence level for that one?
I'll give it a 2. I mean, I
Okay,
don't want to say variance that can happen there that you can't say firmly, but I like it.
okay, awesome. All right, what's pick number 2?
All right, so this one's even uglier for a couple reasons here, but it's again kind of two not great teams, which is usually not the best route to go. But I'm going to go this way. I'm going to take the home team Denver Broncos minus 2.5 against the Raiders. Look, first of all, you talk about injuries. This Denver lineup is ravaged with injuries. I mean, they are missing a ton of people. Of course, they traded Bradley Chubb. So this roster's pretty thin across the board. That being said, this is really just a fate of the Raiders here. They're going into a tough divisional game on the road. The one thing that I think we all like with the Raiders is Devontae Adams. And I think Patrick Surtain can really hold his own there with Adams. So again, it's kind of like, where does Denver find the offense? Can they get one of those huge games from Josh Jacobs? Maybe. Not impossible against that Denver run defense. But I think overall, you kind of look and you say, okay, Denver may not be great. They've got injuries, but this is a home game against a deflated Raiders team. I've got to imagine they can get enough done to come away with a win in this game. And that's kind of it. It's a very generic handicap per se, but when you really look at it there, I don't see the Broncos losing this game at home to the Raiders. I just don't see it happening.
All right. What's the confidence level on that one?
I'm going to go with 2 again with that one. I can't go with
Okay.
3 because again, I mean that Broncos team is so banged up. They've looked so bad at times that I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, they're definitely going to win this game. But again, I just it's more of a fate of the Raiders, I think, than anything.
Yeah, these are definitely this is like the disappointment bowl.
Yeah,
Two of the
yeah.
more disappointing teams in the league squaring off here. So, yeah, Denver, I feel like they've shown these tiny little signs of life. It hasn't necessarily been a ton, but we'll see if the Raiders can't come out with anything here, they may lose out the rest of the season. Derek Carr will just cry in every press conference and
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel bad because I like Derek Carr. I mean, I don't, he
yeah.
has his ups and downs as a quarterback, but I feel like he's probably a good dude. And you can tell he cares, he wants to win.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
but at the end of the day, I think we're seeing poorly run organizations, which is really what the Raiders have been for a while. This is kind of what you get, and you get this underachieving, and you get that. And this is one instance where Nathaniel Hackett might be the better coach on the field. We don't know. This could be a rare. Who knows? Who knows?
It's a rare occurrence this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Who knows?
awesome. All right. Well, that leaves us with the plus money pick yet.
All right, so I'm a little torn on here because I had a 3-team 8-point teaser that I like. Um, but I think I'm going to go a little crazier here and roll the dice a little bit for potentially bigger payout here. And what I'm going to do, and we talked about this on Wager Ragers pod just a little bit, it looks like the Chargers are going to have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams in that game against the Chiefs. Conversely, the Chiefs are probably going to be without Juju Smith-Schuster. They're without McCole Hardman, so they're going to be figuring out some new pieces. Again, Andy Reid will figure it out, but I I have this weird feeling that this is going to be a close game. So I think what I want to do is I'm just going to take the money line with the Chargers here. I don't, I would have to give you a 1 confidence level on this because there is a chance that Kansas City could win this game by 20 points. And if it happened, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But there's something about these two teams. They fight competitively, they play close. And I think that having those weapons back, I think this Chargers offense is going to look a lot better. Can they get any stops against the Chiefs? That's the real question. I mean, their defense is pretty beat up, as we know. Can they do enough to kind of slow down Mahomes? I don't know about that, but I think with the let me pull it up right now. It's plus 195. So I think at that number, I'm willing to take a shot for the sake of the payout here.
Yeah, man. And I actually can get you all the way up to plus 212.
There you
I
go.
can find. So I think the interesting thing about this one is that you have a divisional game with two teams that tend to play each other close and well. And so it's not like throw the records out, throw the teams out, that kind of thing. But there is a legitimacy at times to teams that just are able to play certain teams better. And the Chargers are a little bit forgotten with how their season has gone. To your point, if Williams and Allen play, that is very different than what they've had without them.
Yeah, I think it really makes a huge difference for that offense. Again, I think the question is going to be, can that defense hold up at all against the Chiefs, which we don't know. And that's why I said the Chiefs could put up 38 points in this game. And,
Right.
if they do, chances are the Chargers aren't coming away with a victory here. But, if the Chargers defense can do anything, they're probably going to need a few breaks along the way, maybe a fumble or something, special team, something. But again, I think with his weapons back, I just feel like this could be one of those duels where whoever has the ball last has a chance to win type thing. We know obviously the Chiefs and Mahomes are good in those situations. But again, if you're talking plus 200, I'll take a chance with that for this.
Yeah. The line also tells you those guys are probably playing. It's gone from 50 to 52 on the total. So
Right.
I would imagine that's part of that move as well.
Right. I would imagine so. I mean, again, you're talking about two really Pro Bowl-ish caliber receivers or talents compared to two guys you really have never heard of out there playing. It makes a difference.
Yep. All right. Last thing I'm going to ask you, and if you don't have them, you don't have to do it. This is not an official play or anything, but you teased us with an 8-point teaser.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me who the teams were you were going to take if you went that direction?
Yeah. So San Francisco, to me, they're -8. So you get them against a pick against a Cardinals team. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't practiced. He's a little banged up. Kyler Murray's still iffy. But I think at the end of the day, they're just a better team. I think they find a way to win even on the road. Your Vikings would be the second leg there at plus 9.5. We talked about it on Wager Rager Pod. I think that ends up being a 1-score game, regardless of who wins. So getting plus 9.5 with them, I think that's enough points for them to get home. Whether or not they win the game, that I don't know. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, you can get them you'd get them at +1 at that point against the Colts there. And I don't know exactly. I know you and I were talking a little bit about that game, but I struggle to see the Colts beating that Eagles team, even though the Eagles are a little banged up. Even though the Colts could run on them potentially, I just don't see the Eagles losing back-to-back games in that fashion. So, but I opted against it just because, first of all, you got a couple teams on the road crossing over 0, which I don't love. And again, the payout for that is plus 110, and you need 3 things to happen. I felt like, you know what, let's just swing for the fences, try for a plus 195, plus 200 payout with the Chargers and see what happens.
Yeah, and I like it. And I think, honestly, whenever you need 3 things to go right versus 1 thing to go right, even if that 1 thing doesn't seem like the most likely outcome, I just more and more see how that makes sense to be like, I'll just take the 1 thing to go right.
Yeah.
So.
The only regret I have, and this is not obviously a huge play if I'm playing this game, but you could have gotten the Chargers +7 when this line opened. But the reason, in this case, I'm willing to forego that CLV for the assurance. I guess it's not assurance, but the likelihood that Allen and Williams are going to play. I couldn't bet that at +7 because if those guys don't play, I want nothing to do with the Chargers at that point. So
Agreed. Yeah.
I'll trade those points for those two guys because I just think all of a sudden that game goes from a potential blowout to now we got a battle. And again, when you're talking about a +200 and what I think could be a battle, I'll take my chances.
Yep. Makes sense to me, man.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for jumping on. Always fun to talk through some games with you, and hopefully we can all run the table or something close this week. Get moving in the right direction.
I appreciate it. We do need a little hot streak. So no, let's hope we all are a little on a better path for week 11 here.
Absolutely. Hey, also, I forgot I was doing this week because I don't do it every week because we talk so often. But just a reminder to everyone, at Yanni Bet, at the Bet Crushers, there's DFS, there's player props, there's regular bets, and again, such in-depth breakdown. So if you are not following at Yanni_bet or at the Bet Crushers, go do that. Betcrushers.com is where all that content is. And you've been really killing it in DFS lately, it seems.
Yeah, got off to a little slow start with DFS, but we picked it up the last, I don't know, call it 6 weeks of the season. There was one kind of bump in the road there, but other than that, we've been doing pretty well, pretty consistent with DFS. And fortunately, after a real slow start with player props, those have picked up as well. So we're on a little bit better path than we were after, I don't know, 4 weeks of the season. Just had to get our footing. Appreciate the shout out though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's where I'm getting my DFS info. So
let's keep it going. Yeah,
yep,
appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right. Have a good night, man.
All right.
All right. I'm pretty pumped to welcome in this week's very special guest. We got Lou Betya on Best Bets. How's it going, man?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on the show. This has been a crazy busy week. I'm covering 3 sports, NFL, World Cup, and MMA. So busy week, but hey, man, I'm getting to cover sports for a living. This is pretty cool. And then next week's the holiday, so I'll sleep then. And
although there's always something you can be working on, but
I mean, there's Danish handball if I really want to invest myself. But
hey, if you do a breakdown, I'll jump on and listen, and I'll even smash the like button.
I have bet Danish. I will admit I have bet Danish handball before. I had a sports book that was a Bitcoin book, and they had a feature called Starting Now or Starting Soon. And it was everything in the world you could bet. It was starting in the next hour. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bet this because I'm drunk. And and I bet Kif Kolding to beat Bjerringbro handballed. I don't know how handball scored.
I can't believe you remember that.
Because I ended up betting Kif Kolding like 4 different times. And they never lost from me. I was like 4-0 with this team. And then my buddy is like, they have the golden hand. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I bet this all the time. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he's showing me his bet history. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, all right, I don't feel as bad anymore. But yeah, I've bet some weird stuff in my life. I'd bet ping pong if I had a betting line.
I mean, if it works, hey, I'll say for a little while during COVID there when Russian ping pong was the only thing going on, I was like live betting Russian ping pong.
Oh my God. I was betting, I think it was the KBL. Like, yeah. I was like, I don't care. I got to bet something. And like, it'd be like, oh, he leads the league in home runs with 2. I'm like, all right, great. Like, like these games would be weird. Like the totals would be like 6.5. And it's like, yeah, but each team has 14 hits. Like, this is so strange. And like, just all singles. And, except for like the one massive dude from America who's like, yeah, I'm just going to the power hitter. And, but that was fun to watch. I mean, hey, man, we're gamblers at heart. We're sports fans at heart. Getting through COVID was tough, and we didn't have a lot of sports to bet. But Dana White found a way to keep some fights going, and
he did, man.
And then it all started coming back. I think the German soccer leagues, they actually did something really interesting when the Bundesliga came back. I couldn't have fans there, but they were like really clever, and they took the fan noise from another game involving both teams, and they overlaid it onto the game, but it was so realistic. And you were hearing the chants for both teams, like the team songs. It was really cool. And like when the goals happened, they had awesome. like they did a wonderful job doing it. And that's when like sports were like, all right, maybe this can be salvaged in this era. And now we're back to full crowds, and it's awesome. Except at the Apex awesome. where they're like, you know what? It costs us nothing to run events here. We don't care about having fans.
That's right. Well, hey, looking at this week's NFL slate, man, how do you feel about this overall? Like, yeah, what are you thinking? Big picture.
This is a super tricky week because there's a couple of things we don't know. Like one game I will not play this weekend is this Cleveland Buffalo game because the weather reports is it going to be 2 feet of snow? Is it going to be 6 feet of snow? Is it going to be off the field? Is it going to be moved? Like I can't bet a game where I just don't know any of these things. And then there's a lot of teams that maybe I don't feel comfortable about. Like Baltimore is a huge spread. I don't really like taking double-digit spreads. Like Washington, Houston, what do you do? Detroit, there's a bunch of games in the slate where I think we're at that point in the season where the lines are really getting accurate. And as a capper, you lose a lot of value here. I mean, but there's 3 spots that I really like. There's 2 spots I really, really like. And there's one that's kind of an instinctual play. And then I want to talk about the game that I'm not betting, which involves your team and what
Let's talk about it first,
like.
man.
All
Let's
right.
talk about it. You're heavy on the. Oh, you said you didn't bet it. I was going to say you're heavy on.
I haven't gotten there yet.
All right. Well, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, obviously this is a trap line because why is Dallas a 1.5 point favorite or 1 point favorite, depending on where you look, on the road? I read that this is going to be the first or second time ever that a team with its actual starting quarterback that's 8-1 or better will be a home underdog. It's a very odd. I mean, I would have capped this at Minnesota -3. This seems about right there. So the problem for me is why? Why is the line -1.5? Is it a buy low spot on Dallas? No, because then they would be probably +4. Like, I don't understand the number. And if I don't understand the number, I mean, somebody knows something I don't. Like, I know sometimes the best bet is not to bet at all. My lean, just with the eye test, would be Minnesota, but this line is just begging me to bet on Minnesota. Vegas wants you to bet Minnesota here. So I would guess that Dallas is going to cover, but I don't know how you can be comfortable with Dallas on the road right now against a team that every close game they're in, they win, and this is going to be a close game. There's not going to be a blowout either side. If there's going to be a blowout, I would favor Minnesota to get the blowout.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I haven't bet it yet either, but I like the Dallas side in this game, and it's because of some of the stuff that you're saying. I just think that Kirk Cousins has always struggled with a strong pass rush. I think Dallas has that. I also think when you talk about Minnesota winning all these close games, I don't think it's a mistake that they're in them. But you look at the Raiders, and I think Minnesota's better than the Raiders were last year, but it's similar in the sense that the Raiders won all these close games. Now they can't win any of them. I think Minnesota at some point has to drop some of these close games too. And I definitely could see this game being I said somewhere else, Minnesota misses a kick to lose at the end of regulation. That's kind of what Minnesota does. And I think it's a close game like that.
You've been victimized by kicking miscues many times over the years.
Oh, if you bet on Minnesota,
bad.
you for sure have, man. They like to miss kicks. It's kind of a tradition. So, yeah, man. So I'm with you that the line seems weird just in a vacuum. But I just think Minnesota, even some of the underlying metrics and the defense that Dallas has, I don't think it's a phenomenal matchup for Minnesota even. And they're coming off that huge win too. Easy to let down after you win a crazy game like they did last week.
You need Fuad Revez back on your team kicking.
I'll take some Fuad.
Or what was Gary Anderson, except for that one kick? Wasn't he perfect the whole? But
Dude,
wasn't he perfect? He was perfect the whole year except for the one kick, right?
He was perfect all year. So I got to tell you real quick, I was in college.
I'm showing my age here a little bit.
I was on. Yeah. I'm showing my age. That's fine. I don't give a shit. I was on a trip to Greece, and I'm in the hotel room expecting to come back the next week to see the Vikings play in the Super Bowl. And it's like this TV signal that's barely coming in, and there's no football game. So I'm just watching CNN, trying to hear what happened in the game. And all I can hear is when we come back, the Falcons to the Super Bowl. And I was so pissed. I punched the brick wall in this hotel room. I was like, "You've got to be kidding!" It ruined my. Well, it didn't.
Was that Randall?
Randall Cunningham, was the quarterback
that
then.
Team was your whole offense was bombing them off and no problem.
Exactly, and then let Robert Smith run a little bit. But
that team probably would have won the Super Bowl. They probably would have beaten Denver if they got past that game.
Yes. So
sorry, man.
All right, man.
We're bringing that up.
Good. Yeah. It was some good nostalgia or bad nostalgia, but Let's jump into your picks for this week. What do you want to go with first here for out of your 3 picks?
Well, I have one favorite and I have 2 dogs. Let me talk about the first one, and that is a team that actually burned me badly last week, but I'm gonna go back to the well. I like Chicago plus 3.5 against Atlanta. I actually think the money line is interesting here too, but I don't see this game being a blowout either way. Again, if there's blowout equity, I would assume it's Chicago. Fields is playing. The Bears are not what they were to start this year. They're an offensive team. Obviously, they traded away. They wholesaled their defense a little bit this year. They brought in Claypool. I really don't understand why they got Claypool with what I think they're trying to do, but the offense is starting to hum. Fields is, I mean, look, he doesn't put up monster numbers in the air, but other than that one interception he threw against Detroit, I thought he looked pretty good. He's finally getting Cole Kmet in the offense. On the Atlanta side, they started off 6-0 against the spread, but Mariota is regressing very, very badly these last few weeks. I mean, that Carolina game, and that was a trap number to bet too, and I knew that. I laid off, but he looked awful. And it's not just that he was getting sacked. It's not just that the O-line was letting him down. He held on to the ball. A lot of those sacks were him. He held on to the ball way too long. He's running for his life. He's getting run down by these D linemen. He's not fast enough anymore to do it. The running game is okay. Like, they're all decent, but he's just not using his receivers. I mean, Drake London's been good. He's shown talent. Kyle Pitts is a beast. But if you have a quarterback that holds the ball too long, it doesn't matter. So I don't really like what we're seeing with Mariota. I wouldn't actually be surprised if we saw Ritter in this game at some point. I think if Atlanta does nothing in the first half, I would not be shocked for Desmond Ritter to make his debut. But Chicago can run the ball pretty well. They can throw the ball decently enough. But more importantly, all their games tend to play close. So give me the 3.5 like every time, with 2 middle of the pack teams, but one on the rise against one where their quarterback is just a disaster right now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Chicago's a team that I was super low on coming into the season. Justin Fields is playing a lot better than I expected him to be able to, especially he's just creating a lot of time by running around a lot, whether it's down the field or long enough to be able to find somebody wide open. You don't have to be as accurate if you can run around long enough for somebody to be open by 10 yards. And I feel like that's kind of what he's doing right now. So this is a game I do like the offense there. I got in early on the over for this game because I think both defenses are just not very good. I don't know if I'll give out that pick. We'll see what the line is by the time I do picks, but I definitely like offense in this game for sure.
I believe it's the highest. It's the second highest number on the board. Chiefs Chargers is the highest total.
Okay. What's it up to? I hadn't looked today.
49. I think it actually came down a point.
Okay. I was going to say 49's not terrible.
What'd you get it at?
I think I got it at 48 or 48.5.
I think the Bears, like Miami and the Bears, have become auto bets for the over for me. Like, they can't stop anybody at this point. They score enough to get there. Miami, it could do the bulk of it. The Bears, though, they're no slouches, man. I mean, how many games they put up 30 points this year? How many games they put up at least 20? I mean, they're scoring. So
yeah,
I think the Bears could get you there. Bears might put up 38 on their own, but
yeah,
we'll see what the only thing keeping me off that at the moment is Mariota. If they actually told me Ritter was going to start, I'd probably look at the total a little heavier. I liked him in college. I mean, I get it. Cincinnati's not they're Power 5 school. I get that they're not like an elite program, but I mean, he was a big reason. Like, he's gone, and now look at that team. The team's kind of he was a lot, like, really underrated in college, and I think he's run a pro offense. He's smart. He's doesn't hold the ball too long, which was one thing I loved about him last year. So I think he may see the action. Like, I'm hearing rumblings that maybe they're like, because they're actually in contention.
That's what I was going to say is, like, it feels like a spot where the reason that if I was a coach, I would pull that trigger is knowing you lose this game and you're probably on your way out of any contention, but they're still in it right now. So why not pull out all the stops to try to stay in there if you're falling behind to the Bears? You got to beat the Bears if you're going to hang in there. And I'm not sure they will, but I could see them definitely pulling out the stops to try to.
I mean, they are at home, and it's a dome team against a cold weather team. If this game was in Chicago, I mean, obviously the way it's lined, Chicago would be a 3-point favorite, the way they have it lined. But I don't know. I think if it was in Chicago this time of the year, cold, Chicago might be as much as like a 5-6 point favorite over a dome team. So,
yeah. All right. I like it. So the last thing I do with people here is we give each pick a confidence rating. So 3 is like, I love this pick. 2 is it's fine. And 1 is I got to give you a pick. I don't love it. Where would you be at on this one?
It's right in the middle. This is going to be the 2
Okay.
because there's one pick I like a lot better, and there's one pick that I wouldn't say I'm bucking trends, but it's more of a gut feeling than anything else. But a good one, I think. So we'll call this one the middle. This is the 2.
All right. I like it. All right. What's pick number 2?
Let's go to the one I have the most confidence in, and I'm going to go Eagles first half -4. Up until these last 2 weeks, their first half, especially second quarter lines, have hit every week. The Texan game was weird. Pierce just was unstoppable, especially in the first half. Like Davis Mills looked okay. The Washington game, I mean, I just don't care. It's a divisional game, and with all this talk of the Eagles going undefeated, they can lie and say there was no pressure. But let's be honest, like as soon as you get that steam of being an undefeated team, it becomes the story. So as much as I'm not an Eagles fan, as we talked about, but if I was an Eagles fan, I'd look at this loss as like, okay, now we don't worry about the undefeated stuff. Now, if we have to rotate guys at the end of the season to stay healthy for a championship run, like let's focus on that. So I don't think it was bad. I know they're on a short week. I know the Colts are coming off a win over the worst team in the NFL, that being the Las Vegas Raiders. Jeff Saturday is going to actually have to coach this time. It can't just be like he can't run the Tecmo playbook anymore. He has to call more than 4 runs and 4 passes. And I think whoever was playing the Eagles this week is going to get absolutely demolished. I don't know that I love the 7 because the Eagles' second half this year, they've kind of they take their foot off the gas. But I think they can make the Colts at least a little more one-dimensional. They could probably take like a 2-touchdown lead in the 4th and maybe Indy backdoor covers. So I'm not like super confident with that. But remember, the first half of these games are mostly scripted out. And I'm going to trust Nick Sirianni to script out a better game plan than I am Jeff Saturday. Because I can't imagine he calls anything but tail or run. And if I'm the Eagles, I'm calling like punt block. Like that's my defense in the first half is 10 in the box, punt block.
Yep.
And Matt Ryan, I know he just got the starting job back, but it wasn't Frank Reich's fault that Matt Ryan was fumbling a lot and throwing picks. It's not his fault. Matt Ryan is older, and I have a lot of respect for Matt Ryan. He's probably overachieved with his physical gifts. He's had a great career, great stats. Atlanta was a fun team to watch, but it's obvious he's kind of a step slower now. He's playing a new, I don't even know what kind of offense they're running now. I don't think Jeff Saturday knows what kind of offense they're running. So the playbook's in flux. I think the Eagles defense, after some of these ridiculous, that penalty at the end, which definitely was a late hit on Heineke. You can't argue it. It was stupid. I mean, they played their defense. Slay was terrible. A rare bad game from him. And I think they're just sitting there all week, like stewing. So I think they come out of the blocks hot. I'd rather take the -4 first half just based on the trends of Philly this year. And we've seen teams like Tennessee was crushing Indy. I know the game was close the first half, but Indy's come out of the gate very slow in a few games this year. So Eagles -4 is my pick. I would even play an alt line and take it as high as 6.5 if I got good plus money on it.
Yeah, I love that too. So I always double check the lines when we're recording and just talk about when I record with people. So this is Thursday. It's like 11:30 Eastern. I got there's a 3.5 out there right now at -110. So we'll give you Philly -3.5 for the first half. I won't talk about it too much because you covered a lot of this, but this to me, unless there's just crazy stuff going on with these two teams, is the biggest overreaction spot that I can imagine. Like Philadelphia is still a really good team. The Colts are still a really bad team. The Colts maybe rallied around Jeff Saturday and beat a terrible Raiders team in one game. Like these teams are not even in the same stratosphere, I don't think. And so I'm with you. I think it's much more likely that Philly comes in and throttles them than it is that this is close to the number, especially in the first half. So, yep, love it. So I'm assuming that's a confidence 3 for that one. Figured.
Yeah, that's all right. Top, that's the top one.
All right. Now we get to check out your gut play and see where that takes us.
So I had 2, but there's one I think I like a little more because it doesn't involve the Giants. So I don't want to play that if I don't have to. The line has come down 0.5 point since I wrote this down this morning, which is interesting. I like Pittsburgh to cover at home +4, and there's a couple of reasons I like it. I know Fitzpatrick's out, but they got Watt back, and he's the catalyst. Pickett, I didn't rate him super high in college. I thought he was okay. Not bad. He's not bad. I thought he was okay, and he's showing some, he's got guts. Like there's something about him I like. Like he's a guy I think that players play harder for. No Claypool doesn't matter to me anymore because Pickens has just been so good. They're starting to use Freiermuth a lot more. I think Freiermuth is just such an underrated tight end in the league. Najee Harris is, he's been decent. And why can't I think of their backup running back from Oklahoma State? Chuba Hubbard. No, he's on Carolina.
No, Jalen something.
I can't think of who it was, but goddamn, I can't remember the name of it.
Jalen Warren, isn't that it?
Yeah, Jalen Warren's been decent as a receiver out of the backfield. They're starting to use him a little more. On the Cincinnati side, Jamar Chase, they still don't really know if he's playing. They said it's hopeful for this week, but I can't. If anything, maybe he's a decoy. T. Higgins, who's like my DFS stud, is not a number one, unfortunately. And he's having to be the number one receiver right now, and they're shutting him down. That's why you're seeing Tyler Boyd get a few more looks. They don't use Hunter Henry as much as I think they should. But more importantly, I mean, I already referenced Tecmo Bowl. They call run 2 every first down. Mixing up the middle for 1 yard is how every Cincinnati drive starts. And I don't understand why their play calling is bad. The other thing I don't like about Cincinnati is we just talked about Matt Ryan. I mean, Joe Burrow is getting his ass kicked this year. He's getting hit a lot. And it's another case. In his case, it's more the O-line is bad because a lot of his sacks are happening under the 3-second mark. But he's still making mistakes. I mean, he's getting hit a lot. And I think now it's getting in his head that he either has to release the ball immediately, which is why he's not using his tight end. He's looking at like Higgins, Boyd, or it's it, or he gets sacked. So I don't like how rudimentary the offense has become. And it's even before Chase got hurt. This whole year, something's been kind of like weirdly off with Cincy. Yeah, they have these games like I think it was the Atlanta game where they just absolutely tore them apart in the first half. It's not like they're not capable of it. But maybe it's a Super Bowl hangover. But the O-line is awful, and I can't back in a divisional game on the road. I cannot back this team as -4.5. So more of an instinct play. Give me Pitt to keep it close. I think Pitt can win outright. I honestly do, but way more comfortable in what's going to be a cold, like weird old, like it's the AFC North is like plays these tight games too. Traditionally, they play low scoring games. So, the total for this game is fairly low. It's 41. When you see a total like that, give me the points with the dog here, especially the home dog. So,
yeah, man, you put your finger on exactly the thing that keeps me off a lot of Cincinnati games. And that is that I like to bet teams where I feel like I have a pretty solid handle on what they're going to do. I mean, you never know for sure, but Cincinnati, I feel like who knows who's going to show up? Are they going to win by 30? Are they going to get beat by 30? Is Burrow going to look like the Burrow who's getting the ball out quick, making great decisions, or is he going to stand back there and get sacked? Like it's a tough team to get a read on, I think. And I think Pittsburgh yes, they won one game last week, but I just think in terms of that team feels like they have a little bit of momentum, and getting Watt back is huge for them. Like, I just think there aren't many defensive players that I would value more in terms of what they do overall for the defense than I do with Watt on Pittsburgh. So I just think that's huge for them getting him back for this game. There's a big difference.
I want to throw in a prop bet that I'm going to have on this.
All right, do it.
It's not out yet, but this is, and it's not about even Watt being back. Every Cincinnati game this year, I have bet the other team's team total in sacks because I feel like it hasn't really gone up. I mean, some of these games, it's like 3.5, and that seems like a high total, but it's hit in the first half of a couple of these games. So I just can't say that enough about how bad their O-line's been. So whatever their team total in sacks is, I mean, if it's 5.5, don't bet it, but anything under 3.5 or better, hammer that. I don't even care if it's juiced. Like, I'll take it.
Yep, they definitely do know how to give up sacks, but not on first down because Mixon's running it. But after that,
yeah, you can't sack him on first because you're right.
No, don't bet first down sacks, whatever you do.
Right.
So awesome, man. Well, and that's for you. That's like a level 1 confidence for that one. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna bet all 3 games. I told you. I feel maybe it's least confident.
I'm gonna let you in on
about that, but
I'm going to let you in on something about this best bet show, why you might want to make it a confidence level 2. So we've been doing this all season, and overall positive on the year. The confidence level 3 bets are like 65%, really, really good. The confidence level 1 bets, I think, are hitting at something like an 18% clip. So confidence level 1 is just death to the pick. Like I've
All
full
right,
on
so
told
no
people,
one. I have no
you
ones.
fade it
There you
if
go,
it's
no.
level 1. So
there you go. No ones on it.
so we might want to make it a 2 just so it
Sure.
hits,
All right, let's call it a 2. I'm down.
All right. Hey, before you get out of here, definitely want to make sure people know where to find you. So I'm going to just real quick talk about why I wanted to have you on. I have enjoyed listening to Lou as much as almost anyone. It's for 2 reasons. Number one, really smart in how he thinks about betting, and from a lot of different angles. We were talking about this before, but like numbers, sometimes it's narrative, sometimes it's feel, whatever. But Lou does an awesome job bringing all that together. Also, Lou is a ton of fun. Like, you don't listen to Lou very long and be bored listening to him, which is awesome. So I know he's got World Cup stuff going on right now, always a ton of MMA. We were talking this week's fight card for like 10 minutes before we started doing this. Lots of different sports. So whatever you want to share, man, about the best way for people to find you, follow you, get engaged with your content, hit them with all that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. Ironically enough, about an hour ago, I posted my 2 yam bag parlay on Twitter about so I'm known for like betting on people getting hit in the balls on fights. So it's 20-1. So I have 2 parlayed at plus 44,000 odds. I'm not sure where it loses. It's probably like I'm surprised DraftKings hasn't paid me yet. They probably looked at it. They were like, "This is that's like a refrigerator."
They're begging you to cash out already.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, "Please, like, don't break us." Like so. Follow me on Lou Betya at Twitter. I do try to be entertaining. I will never tell you I'm the sharpest capper in the space. There are tons of smart people doing NFL, doing MMA, everything else, but I do try to make it fun. All my content is on the MMA engine. Or I work with DFS by the Numbers, Uncle Weezy, and the Monkmatician, my co-host on Fridays, giving you guys DFS and betting tips. We're a strictly MMA channel, except for this week, because I'm breaking down the World Cup, which is why I have this ridiculous background, because it was fire, and now it looks terrible. I'm like all fuzzy with it. But,
I thought you were actually at the World Cup right now. That
look at it. Some balls are flying over my head. Shit, look at this crazy shit. Whoa. I broke down the World Cup yesterday. I did the group stages, and as soon as we are done, I'm going to be recording the knockout stage tournament MVPs. And since you had me on, how about I give you like I'll give you one fun bet.
Please do.
I have a plus 6,500 prop I'm playing on the World Cup. I'm going to play Christian Eriksen to win the Golden Ball, which is tournament MVP. And it's contingent on Denmark making the Final Four, but I have Denmark making the final. So I'm going a little against the grain to most people. If they make the final, are you really going to deny a dude that had a heart attack last summer in the Euros, the Golden? And he's the most important guy on the team. He's their best player. This is a team that, without their best player, took England to extra time in the semifinals of the Euros. This is a team that's built well, and they will run into England on their side of the bracket, and they will get revenge. And I like Denmark to make the final and not win against Brazil. But 4 years ago, Croatia lost to France in the final, and their midfielder, Luka Modric, won the Golden Ball. There's no reason the losing midfielder from this year can't win the same thing. And at plus 6,500, I bet this crazy irresponsibly. Like, this is like I'm not joking when I say this. I will win life-changing money if it hits.
Wow.
Like, that's how much. Like, I think DraftKings was probably like, is there an extra zero in here? I am like crazy heavy on this bet. I know it's insane, but if they beat France in the first round, they avoid Argentina, they get on the right side of the bracket, and their path there is going to be like just way easier than having to go through Brazil and Argentina and Netherlands. Like, they'll have an easier path. So plus 6,500, get it while it's hot. And
I will get some of that while it's hot.
What's my other guy here? I got I have it written down somewhere. Lautaro Martinez for Argentina to be the tournament's leading scorer at plus 1,800 is sexy. Everybody's going to bet Messi. Do not bet Messi. He's too chalky for a leading goal scorer bet.
Love it.
Yes, please check out the World Cup stuff if you're watching this. It'll all be on the channel at the end of the day. So,
and I've been watching it and laid out really well. And I love the World Cup. I just don't follow soccer closely enough to cap it. So getting those videos has been awesome for me to kind of catch up on what's actually going on. So
I took some shit for my Manchester United jersey, but I took some shit because I couldn't help but sneak in how much I hate Manchester City in the video. I'm like, Kevin De Bruyne. I was like, Kevin
I
De
didn't
Bruyne's
hear
awesome.
that yet.
I was like, Kevin De Bruyne is great, but he plays for Manchester City, who I hate because they're awful. I'm like, but he's really good. So I was like, my buddy's like, nice dig at City while you're there. Like, sorry, you guys are losers. I'm like,
dude, it's your video. You can say what you want.
no, it's an old time. He's the only Manchester City fan I know because I'd like to tell him they're all fraud fans that like are bandwagoners, and we have a good time with it. So
it's awesome. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. It was a lot of fun, and look forward to catching up with all the MMA and World Cup content, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Everybody looks forward to having D Nice join in to make some picks. What's happening this afternoon?
Not much, man. I was hoping to get this done a little bit earlier, but work and jobs just take precedent, right? And here we are. It's getting dark. It's like not even 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's that time of year where that just means that you have more time to watch sports and play some bets because it's dark at 5 o'clock, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's not much else to go out and do. Although I know you're still walking the dog and stuff, but I don't have a dog to walk, so.
Have to walk the dog so the dog doesn't shit inside, Tasty.
I mean, that seems like a good reason to me. I would also walk the dog reason. If that was,
Though, to be honest with you, if I lived in Buffalo, I probably would just let the dog shit inside this weekend because it was going to be 4 to 6 feet of snow. And I just
it's a good call.
Look, if you want to go out on the deck and try to figure it out, go for it. But hopefully the pipes don't freeze. So yeah.
Well, hey, but real quick before we jump into your picks, although I suppose this could be one of your picks, we just got the news about an hour ago that they're moving the Bills and Browns to Detroit, where the Bills will play 2 games in a row now on Sunday and on Thanksgiving. Any quick thoughts on that game? Yeah, any quick thoughts on that game after the change of venue?
My thoughts are I was actually hoping that they would keep it in Buffalo, that the snow would stop, take a look at the winds, and then I would hit the over. Because I think the over got all the way down to like 40.5 and it reopened. I can't confirm. I saw a tweet saying that it reopened at 49.
Yeah,
so that's
I think
a lot
of
points.
Yep.
I'm not touching the 49. Like, do I think it could get there? Yep. And they're in a dome. I don't know the travel situation. Like, are the Bills just currently in a mad scramble to get out of Dodge to fly to Detroit?
They must be.
Probably.
I don't know.
Right? Have to be. So does that affect your psyche? Does that affect your whole entire prep also? Because they'll get in, I guess, late tonight, have to figure out where they're practicing tomorrow. I'm not going to touch the game, but it's a lot boring of a game now, right? Because it's in a dome and there's not going to be any snow. There's no home field advantage, but I know that the Bills need to win.
It was gonna be so fun. And I'm with you. I feel like there were a couple ways that you could have looked at that game where it felt like there was a little bit of an edge, and now it just feels like that gets taken away. And I lost interest in anything on that game with the change as well. So
I entirely did. Maybe a tease on the Bills, but I'm just bummed out that we're not going to be able to see 6 feet of snow in the stands. But that's probably why they're moving the game, because fans can't get there in theory.
Yep, it's a bummer though. It's a bummer. So, from a game that we don't have any interest in, let's go to some games that you do have interest in betting. What are you going to start the week off with?
I will start the week, and I will caveat everything by saying that currently I'm in a bit of a slump. Started out the whole year, I think it was 15-8-1, a little bit of a slump. I went 0-3 last week. I'm not seeing the board as well, and that's probably a cliche saying, but I 100% agree. It's like, okay, I'm having trouble drilling down right now. So hopefully D-Nice can get out of this. Hopefully I stop referring to myself in the third person also. It's just kind of weird. Hopefully I can hit some picks.
I believe in you for both, man. I believe in the picks, and I believe that you cannot refer to yourself in the third person. You can pull them both off.
Okay. First pick here is going to be actually on Monday Night Football. Niners first half to cover 4 points. It's in Mexico, right? They're playing in the elevation, like 12,000 feet in the air. It's probably not 12,000, but it's pretty high in the air.
Going down. What is it? 8 something or 9 something? It's high.
It's pretty damn high, and it takes an effect. Who does that favor? I really don't know, but I do like the Niners to cover the first half. Got this at DraftKings. There's a bunch of 4.5s out there, but there is a 4. There should still be a 4 at DraftKings in the first half. And we're recording this. What is it? Thursday. I'm trying to lose track of days here. Thursday at 5 Eastern. I think that this is, a case in point of the Niners. Cream is rising to the top. I still regard them as a top 5 or 6 team. If you listen to the Wager Ager podcast and we went through the entire exercise, I think I listed 19 teams in my top 5. But I can definitively say that I think that the Niners are top 6, if not tied for 5th. Cream is rising to the top. Their defense has been coming around lately. They did get scorched by the Chiefs back about a month ago, but still looking pretty good. Number 1 overall in success rate, number 1 or 4, overall in EPA per play, stats that I always tend to look at. Past 2 games against the Chargers and Rams, and I know that the Rams have some injuries and issues, but they only allowed 4 yards per play to the Rams, which I think is pretty damn good. You held Cooper Kupp in check, and then against the Chargers, which, look, I don't know what the Chargers are doing, but they only allowed 4.2 yards per play to them. I think that Herbert should be able to average more. Getting healthier. They're going down there. Arizona, is Kyler Murray playing? Not too sure. If he does play, he's a little bit rusty. And I think bigger than anything right now, losing Zach Ertz is really big. He leads the team in catches. He's that kind of like emergency safety valve that you can say, okay, Zach Ertz is there, check it down. And he had 47 catches on the year. He's out for the season. And I think that's rough. That's really rough. And then also, if you like stats, the Cardinals are 26th in the league in first half points. That's not very good. They're averaging less than 10 points a game. It just seems like that they start slow, don't usually have the best game plan. Is that an element of Cliff and the coaching staff? Likely, and this might be the last year for them here, but not great in the first half. Sometimes they mount those second half comebacks that you saw against the Raiders and even against the Eagles. They covered the spread, almost forced overtime. So long-winded way of saying that I think this is a good spot, a really good team, a top 5 team against a bottom 10 team. On the road for both teams, you don't have a home field advantage. If you get me like a 17-10 first half, which is a little bit high scoring, I know, then you'll get my first half -4 home. So Niners first half to start things out.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like hearing you talk about this game because this is actually kind of a game I almost forgot about. When you said Monday night, I was like, wait, who's playing Monday night? And I agree. I think that
in Mexico.
I think the Niners not covering last week against the Chargers as well kind of moves, at least for me, it's like, it doesn't get me excited to bet them again, but those are the spots where you do want to look at a team. So I think it's a good week to do that. So I like
totally
it.
agree. Totally agree. And hopefully they can get this win and get to 6-4, because I feel like teams that I regard highly, I don't want them to underperform. It's like, I want the Niners to be in the conversation. Like, they are better than a 5-5 team. So go out. It's a game in the division, take care of business and get this bet home for us.
Yep. My futures bets really need them to win too. So we'll hope for that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What's the confidence level for this one?
Do a 2 on that one. I'm a little bit of a wuss because I've been burned lately.
I feel you. I know how that goes. So
2
I haven't been crushing it the last couple of weeks either. So
it ebbs and flows, right. Everybody ebbs and flows.
It does. You got yeah. All right. What's pick number 2?
Another first half pick, and this might be the first time that I do this one. It's a lot of people might not like this, but the Eagles, I'm going back to the Eagles in the first half, coming off that loss at -3.5. I've done it a couple times this year, laid off last week because I actually thought that game against the Redskins would be kind of close, and it was close. But 3.5, playing the Colts in the afternoon. You have Jeff Saturday. I guess that was an emotional win last week as you beat the lowly Raiders. I think that the Raiders are, at this point, honestly, a bottom 3 to 5 team because they're so inconsistent. And it's like, okay, the blueprint in this game for the Colts to succeed is run Jonathan Taylor. Hope that the Eagles can't stop it. The Eagles are signing guys like Sue to try to plug that in. Is Sue going to play this week? Maybe they'll just plug him in and say, hey, don't stomp on anybody. Just plug the middle. Just plug the middle and don't get ejected.
Good instructions.
Yeah. Just don't screw this up, man. Yeah. But if that blueprint is not working early and often, it's like, what are the Colts going to do? I'm not a believer in Matty Ice. He was benched for a reason, and they're just going to go back to him and say, okay, wing it downfield. Maybe Pittman's there somewhere. The Eagles do have really good cornerbacks. I mean, Slay is good. Bradbury is good. They had a bit of a down week last week, but nobody can go in a straight line up. This is going to be a very telling game for me, because if the Colts do have success, and there's a lot of sharp people out there saying Colts at +7, take it, because the blueprint is out there. I'm not going to buy into that yet. I think that the Eagles are a top 5 team. I think that, I know that they control home field. Like they have control of what they do at this point. If they come out and lay an egg and don't look good in the first half and don't look good in this game, then I'll say, okay, take a loss and I need to reevaluate, which I think that I need to reevaluate plenty of things mid-year right now, because the cream's rising up and there's some teams kind of going into the middle of the pack, and I hope that the Eagles are not one of them. But Eagles to cover 3.5 first half. Don't pay a lot of juice for it. Don't get yourself a 4 to 4.5. Try to find the 3.5. And I think that bounce back spot, give it to me first half, and hopefully that we can get another first half bet home here.
What's your confidence for that one?
2 on that one also.
All right, so I'm going to add a little something in here. I was going to save it for when I record my own thing, but I'll just skip through quickly when I record mine.
Yeah.
I freaking love this bet.
Okay,
so
awesome.
And I hold back a little because I haven't been crushing it lately either, but I almost feel like this is like a 4 for me. I mean, when I look at this game, which I know we don't do 4s, by the way, but
well, we do now.
We do now. I mean,
Yeah.
even last week against the Raiders, the key play in that game is Matt Ryan, a 90-year-old man running 45 yards down the sideline to get them in position to score. Like, this shit doesn't happen. And the Eagles are
for the rest of the year. No,
it shouldn't. Right. And the Eagles picking up Linval Joseph and now Ndamukong Suh, even if they don't play a lot, their weakness is stopping the run, which we saw against Washington. And I don't know if those guys will play or how much, but earlier I was talking to Lou, who was the guest this week, and I thought he put it great. Nice. He said Philadelphia this week, their defense should be punt block every time. And what he meant was just line up and stop the run,
stop the run, do whatever you have to do to stop the run. Cause it looked so ugly. And look, the Commanders only average, 3.1 per rush, which is not good. But
I was shocked when you told me that. Yeah.
Shocked, but they stuck with it. They probably averaged 4.5 in the first half, and then they got stopped. But they stuck with it, and it set up play action, and that's what can't happen, because if Taylor's running loose, and you got to avoid those chunk plays. I don't think that Matt Ryan's going to have another chunk play in his career, but you have to avoid those. And if you can, it kind of puts everything else in check. But if Taylor's running loose, you're setting up play action, you got some old man confidence, then all of a sudden you can get into a game. It's okay, do the Eagles really have a problem? But that's why I love the signings. Get those big bodies, those big asses in there, and just stop the run, dude.
Yep. The one other thing I'll say is Shaq Leonard is on the IR now for the Colts. And I think that's super problematic for them. I think their defense is so anyway, and he's just the guy that holds it together. So I've been big wrong before, and I can be big wrong on this one. But I think this game is 24-3 at halftime. I think Philadelphia comes out here and just smokes them in the first half. So I might be coming back here next week being that pick sucked, but that's the way I feel about it right now. So
they're due for regression to come back and hit those first half bets. They've put up 24 points exactly in so many games, and they've moved the ball well, even in the past couple games. Yep. The Texans kind of gave them a fight in the first half, and then they did lose on Monday, but that's more of an element of, some timely bad turnovers that worked well for the Commanders. And, you put yourself in a position that you gave up so many yards earlier that the bad penalties at the end of the game, you couldn't overcome it. So is it an anomaly? We're banking on it.
We're going to find
out.
Why
we're betting on it. Yeah.
And I'm betting it's not, or I'm betting it is, but we're going to find out. So
betting it is. Right. I think you talked me into 3-pointer on that one.
Well, don't let me do that, man. You do what you do. I'm just saying for me, I feel as good about this bet as any I have in a while. I'll just put it that way, which might not mean
I need
anything.
that vote of confidence. Yeah, because it ebbs and flows. I think I'm a little bit
So,
unconfident right now, right?
yeah,
So
totally.
Yeah. Okay. Philly first
All
half.
right. Well, on to the plus money pick for the week.
Plus money pick. So the plus money picks are always tough, right? Was looking at a whole bunch of angles. Like, did I want first half? Do I want like an outright dog? Where I settled on, and you might not love this play, but the plus play that I'm going to do is Dallas to cover 3 points at plus 110 at DraftKings. I do think that this is going to be a close game. I do think that these two teams are going to be in the mix. Like, if you told me that these two teams played for the NFC Championship and one of them took out the Eagles, I wouldn't be shocked. And maybe we see this game again. I think that I've said ebb and flow time and time again, but there's good spots and bad spots. You have the Cowboys coming off of what I'll call a crushing loss, because if they have that win, they're 7-2. They're knocking on the door of the Giants also, who are somehow still up there. But you're knocking on the door of the Eagles, only one loss back, and you have a head-to-head on Christmas Eve. That's crushing. Blew a 14-point lead. They're going to come in, with a purpose in this game. I think that the Vikings are a really good team. Top 5, top 6, sure. But in this spot, an emotional win, a game that a lot of people didn't think that they should have had or could have had, they got it. And they got it home against the Bills, and there wasn't 6 feet of snow on the ground. And so they got that one done. And now it's like, okay, I've seen this before where like it's an emotional win. You come off of this and you're playing a really good pass rush. And the way to get to Kirk Cousins, it's only happened a couple times this year, is get to Kirk Cousins, blitz him just to no avail. It's not a primetime game. I think that's kind of blown out of proportion, but Kirk Cousins is going to be under duress. He's going to be under pressure. Right. He's going to be under a ton of pressure. I think that I like this spot here just because of the spots overall. To cover 3 points, it's asking a little bit. There's some push probability here as well, but I really do think that this comes down to like a 24-21 game. If Dallas can apply pressure, then great. Where it gets interesting is, okay, Kirk Cousins has so many weapons now. He can just chuck the ball up and be like, screw it, because JJ's down there somewhere, right? And
that's right. Kind of
leave it in.
It's like it was with Randy Moss. Like, if he's down there, you just throw it.
Yeah. And Hawkinson, I think, is huge. Like, Hawkinson is a long-term play that he's already good, but like that's a guy that is going to have some big playoff games. And that's huge because Kirk, if he's being blitzed hard, it's like, okay, Hawkinson's there and he knows where he's at. So it's going to be a long-winded way of me saying that I like this spot overall more than anything. I don't think that the Cowboys are, a far better team, but I think that I really like the spot at plus 110. And if they win by 3, you get your bet back at least. So
exactly.
Dallas
I think that's
3.
where 3 is definitely better than 3.5. And I can't disagree with you. We talked about this on your pod. It's going to be a close game. I think you're right that the spot is better for the Cowboys, and they can do some things that give Kirk Cousins trouble. So, I agree with you that it's a decent spot. So, what confidence are you going with on that one?
2 on that one as well. It's not the sharpest handicap, and there's not a lot of stats on it either. But sometimes when you're in a bit of a slump, you just have to take a look at the schedule and just get back to basics and say, okay, all these are going to be 2-pointers. Get back to the first half bets and just take a look at the spots, right? And Dallas -3. So 2s across the board, Tasty.
I like it. You're consistent. Lots of 2s. So
2s, and maybe they'll be upgraded to a 3 next week.
Yeah, maybe once you sweep, then they'll all be 3s next week. So
exactly, just need to get back on the positive path, man.
Exactly. All right. Well, we say it many of the weeks, but if anybody new is listening, make sure you go follow at Sir Wager Rager. This is a best bets podcast, but most weeks with D and Yanni bets and JJ from the Bet Crushers when he can make it. Dive a lot deeper into some of the NFL games, and you get a lot more color on the picks and the breakdowns than you do on this show. So, and D's putting out a lot of other stuff as well. So make sure you go follow him at Sir Wager Rager. Anything else about that for now?
That's it. We had a great, I think it was close to an hour and 20-minute long conversation last night to break down a total of 4 games and just do a high-level overview. Quad Pod was back because JJ was able to, join us. Work let up a little bit, so the Quad Pod was back, but that will be out Friday morning for everybody's listening pleasure.
Awesome. We'll be looking for it. All right, dude. Thanks. It was good to see you. I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Always a pleasure.
Guys, I am so excited right now because it has been a few weeks since I've gotten the chance to talk to Kevin, and we are back. Well, not live because we're recording, but back talking, man. How are you doing? It's awesome to see you.
I'm good. Things got real busy, work, life stuff.
I do know.
Yeah. Glad to be back on the pod, talking, doing what I love, though.
Yeah, man. Well, we're super happy to have you back. I mean, I appreciate you sending the pics in, but it's a lot better talking to you and hearing what you're thinking and all that kind of stuff. So really glad to have you back, man.
Glad to be back.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into the picks then. There's one team I want to ask you about, but I have the feeling it could be one of your picks. So I'll save it for afterwards. And if it's not, then we'll talk about it. But
we can just jump right in it because you're right.
Let's jump in.
I saw that you liked him too. And, they just got some good news today, getting Sue and Linville Joseph. I think, which I love to see because, obviously there's allowing, there's 3-4 yards every single carry. They were just like, nope, Davis is out. They're like, this ain't happening. Like, we got a team that's going to contend. What do we got to do? All right, shore it up.
Yep.
And, this week, I don't know, dude, what did this line open at? Because I've seen, different numbers. I saw FanDuel was 8, and then I think the look ahead was 10, but I don't know if that was because of Ryan or it wasn't.
Right. So I think it was 9.5 or 10 on the look ahead. But like you said, that was before everything went down with Jeff Saturday and then Ryan coming back in. So it's a little hard to know what all the factors were that swung that line. I was just going to pull it up right now and look at what the line movement has been. Let's see. So right now 6.5, is the best that's out there. And it looks like it opened around 8.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of these, if you go way back, like you said on the look at
right. I think the look
10.5, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I 8, I think.
Either way, I'm happy to sell the Colts. I think everyone was selling them last week, and I was kind of on that train. I didn't get to bet against them. I guess that's a good thing, but I think the normal thinking is when you get a new head coach, you kind of get that first week where guys get up and play, everyone's fired up, they want to play for him. And then, the second week, I think it's kind of back to reality. And I was ready to take it at 7. Now that I'm seeing 6.5, so I definitely like it even more. I think this is going to be a big A.J. Brown game. Don't know what happened Monday night. 1 catch, 4 targets. I think he kind of limped off the field after the
did. Yeah. He got a little bit hurt. I didn't see him on the injury report this week.
No, he's not. That kind of another one don't make sense.
Oh, actually, he is on the one I'm looking at right now.
Really?
It just says he rolled his ankle. So
but he's not listed. When I was looking, he's not listed questionable or anything like that, right?
Well, I'm looking at team rankings. I don't know how official that is, but they have him listed as questionable on here. So
either way, I think he's gonna go for sure. I mean, if I definitely would have heard something about it.
Yeah. And he stayed out there some even after and I know in game
he is whatever. But okay, so we practice in a limited capacity Thursday.
That's a good sign.
Okay. Either way,
it's a good sign.
I think this is, I think I'm pretty happy we took an L in a weird way. I kind of wanted to get it out of the way. And, now you got to look, any given Sunday, you got to prepare for every team. Anyone can beat anyone. You got to be ready. And I think this is just simple as that. It's going to be Colts getting back to having a new coach who can't call plays, and the Eagles being back to the dominant team they were, and I think they take care of business.
I'm with you, man. What's the confidence level on this one?
This one I got 3.
You better say 3, man.
Yeah, this one's a 3. I saw you took first half too, right?
Yeah, I did take first half. That's what I was going to ask you is like if you have any thoughts on first half. Honestly, I'm thinking about getting in on the game as well and just trying to double up, like if they play one of the halves a little worse than the other, whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, I think but Jonathan Taylor, great back, and I think, getting those 2 guys I think was huge. It's almost like they got them perfect time for this matchup. Because that would have been the one thing that scares me. Because their offensive line's been bad this year, the Colts, but I think they're like the highest paid offensive line in the league, which is kind of weird. They kind of figured maybe they would come back, and they played good last week, but it is the Raiders,
It is the Raiders, and it still was like by the skin of their teeth. They won that. Like it's not like they dominated or something.
Right.
So
all right, so that's the first one.
All right.
Next one. We'll get this one out of the way. I'm fading your Vikings this week. Now I want to ask you Vikings. What is your, what do you think? Do you think they're like a legit 8-1, like that deserving of that record, or?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily. I think they have gotten lucky. I want to give credit. I wish I could give credit because I don't remember who said it, but I thought this was a great way to describe what I think is true of the Vikings right now. They said, you could say that the Vikings are good and you could say that the Vikings are lucky, and they can both be true.
Yes.
And I think that's how I feel. Like I actually feel like they're getting better. And that's what excites me is like, if they can just keep getting better, win or lose this week, they actually could be in the mix in the NFC. Even if they're the 3rd or 4th best team in the NFC, I think they could have a chance.
Yeah.
But they definitely have gotten lucky to be 8-1 as well.
Yeah, no. I think they're and probably top 3. I think it's Eagles, Cowboys, Vikings in the NFC, and Niners.
And Niners, yeah.
But, I would say, they've gotten lucky, but it's kind of the same thing with the Eagles. It's like, the Eagles have a very easy schedule, but they're also good. Both things can be true.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean just because you got lucky that you're not a good team, or that you have an easy schedule that you're not a good team. But this week, I think, the main matchup that kind of stinks for them is they're what's his name, Darisaw, young tackle.
Yeah, they're tackle.
PFF as the best tackle in the league. Doesn't look like he's going to play this week with a concussion.
You're exactly right.
Do a thing. Guys are not coming back the week after. It's at least a week. And then Parsons is a guy you'd love to have him against,
Yep. 100%. You're right.
And I think that's going to be tough for them. Cousins under pressure. I think last week I was glad to see that meltdown for them in the 4th quarter with Rodgers. But they were up in that game. They should have probably won that game. They just blew it, And
yeah,
pains me to say this, but they're a good team, and they're better with Dak than they are with Cooper Rush, no matter what anyone says, regardless of the record. But I think the line is kind of telling in this one. 8-1 team at home. You're an underdog. Kind of tells me everything I need to know.
In fact, I saw this week that if they close as a dog here, it'll be the first time an 8-1 team at home is a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other times, even on the road, it was like a backup quarterback situation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I heard someone say that today.
Yep.
But this one, we'll give this a 2 for confidence.
Okay. This isn't going to be one of my picks that I make, so I'm going to just throw one other thing in here. The thing that I think about this game is I just think the Vikings' path to victory is more narrow. I think it's still there, but I think they're going to have to establish the run so that they can run play action and keep Parsons and others from getting too much pressure. Right. So if they can't get the run going, I think they're going to really struggle.
Yeah, that's key. They're definitely going to want to start that run for sure. I agree.
All right, man. 2 down. What are we going to last?
I'll go with a little bigger plus money play this week. I'm going to go with the Chargers outright. And I think I saw plus 200, plus 212.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I see plus 210. So if you've got plus 212.
Plus 212. I'm glad we're doing these Thursday now because you get a little injury report, and this is one. I was gonna take them +6s, which I grabbed this morning, but 6s are all gone, down to 5.5s, 5. But they had kind of differing injury reports where the Chiefs, Juju didn't practice. Again, another concussion situation, probably not going to play. Hardman went on IR. Scantling and Tony practice limited. They'll probably play, but
Okay.
I think Juju is a big piece to miss against his team. And the Chargers on the other end, Allen and Williams both practice. Looks like they're both.
Oh, Williams did too.
Yeah, it looks like they're both going to play. Both limited, but I think
Wow.
it's a good sign. And, this is kind of the game where your division game at home, you kind of want to push to play now or never. If you don't play this game, you hang it up, I don't think you're ever coming back, especially Keenan Allen. That dude cannot stay healthy. But going back to the first game these two teams played, Chiefs won. I was on the Chargers that game. I thought the Chargers dominated that game. Absolutely dominated. Got unlucky, 99-yard interception, return for a touchdown. Mahomes had like 3 picks drop. But these teams always play each other tight. You got a good matchup with Derwin James on Kelsey. I think that's huge. The splits where Derwin James plays against Kelsey has historically bad games. And, if that matchup's going to be, can't ever take the guy away, but if he's not going to have a breakout game and Juju's out, it could be, and you're getting your studs back. This is a game where I think at +200, I'm definitely willing to take the Chargers as a dog. To maybe this game, if they can get out of this with a win and healthy, you're looking at turning your whole season around, because they still have a winning record and they've overcome a lot. I mean, Bosa's still out. You got a great quarterback. The roster, I thought it was a top 3 roster going into the year, but just injury after injury after injury. Herbert's having to check down. They're a different team if they get these guys back.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting you bring this one up because it's honestly not one that I had even thought a lot about. And when you started talking, I went and pulled up the stats from that first game. And you're right, like statistically, the Chargers were better in most categories. And granted, everybody was healthy at the beginning of the year, right? Like it's a different situation. But I do think if they can get those I feel like Allen and Williams are so important, man. Like Palmer's okay, but I think it matters a lot for Eckler even, because if they have to respect those other weapons, then Eckler's going to get more space to operate too. So I think if those guys are healthy, it becomes really interesting. If not, I feel like they would struggle.
Oh yeah, so. If I would not take those games I would not take them if I didn't think those guys were playing.
Yeah,
but I think if they weren't playing, they weren't practicing on a Thursday for a Sunday night game. I just, why if you don't think they have a chance to play, why even run them out there?
Yeah,
but you hit that perfectly because he's been checking the ball down like crazy. After Palmer, they got Carter and Bandy. Those are the only 2 guys.
Not much.
If you look at Eckler's game, he's got like 7 catches, 30 yards, 8 catches, 30 yards. Get no space. Those guys, even if Keenan Allen isn't even catching the ball, just him being out there just opens it up. And Williams going deep, everything opens up. And it's not like Herbert's not just a check down guy. Dude's got a talent, that's not his forte. So, everything changed.
You got to push it down the field. Yeah, for sure. What's the confidence level for that one?
Good 2 on that one.
All right. You have to stay away from the confidence level 1. You don't want it to lose automatically, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Can't give it a 1.
3 and 2.
That's awesome. Hey man, quick. And if people don't want to listen to this, they can look at the timestamps and skip ahead. But I want to ask you, how's NBA, DFS, and all that kind of stuff going for you? I know we're going to try to connect soon, more in depth, but I'm just curious how it's been.
It's going good, man. I keep knocking on the door. Last night I had a lineup, finished at 35th. 5 plays, just right there. But in these payout structures that they do, I don't know if you noticed, but it's just top heavy. If you don't get in the top 10,
yep,
you're not winning, and you can have everything right, but if one guy is off, you're not going to get in the top 10. It's got to be. It's like hitting an 8-leg parlay. You get 7 out of 8, you ain't gonna win.
Totally. So
At least.
I've done some DFS lineups the last few days, and I don't have nearly as much experience as you, but last night I actually had a pretty good lineup. I mean, I think I ended up maybe around 100, so not as high as you were.
That's good.
But it was and I'm just like starting low because I don't really know what I'm doing
well,
yet.
I already know what you did. You went with Minnesota guys.
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't go with Minnesota guys actually.
That's what the winner had.
Did they really?
Oh, dude, the winner did just the game stack with Edwards. I think it was Towns, Gobert. Like they went off, and I had basically everyone but Edwards. I had Bol. He went for a 50 burger.
Dude, I had Bol in my lineup.
Yeah, it was Carter out. Yeah, it was.
Yep.
It was not everything, and then I had Mathurin killed me. He went gold, and that was the difference.
Yep, that is those lineups, man. One person can kill you. It's hard, but well, awesome, man. I'm excited. Like, we definitely need to connect as things slow down for you, and we can find the time. I really want to dive into that a little bit more because I want to get better at it too.
Yeah, are you playing tonight?
I don't have any lineups tonight. I have a couple bets, but I don't have any lineups in. So
okay.
It's still early. Maybe I'll go try to throw one together quick.
Yeah, because the slate doesn't start till 10.
Oh, look at this. I got all kinds of time.
You know what I'm saying? 3-gamer. So waiting on Spurs news. Keldon Johnson might be out. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Questionable, but no.
Yeah, those things make a big difference on usage.
Oh, yeah. That's what you need. Those injuries for NBA is everything.
Yep. So especially in DFS, because I feel like sometimes the teams perform okay when somebody's out. In fact, there are times like last year when Ja was out during the season, Memphis was actually better defensively without him.
Dude.
But DFS wise, the usage moves all over the place.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's Sunday night. Ja and Bane were out. There's another one. I was in the top 100 because whenever Ja's out, you got to play Tyus Jones. You got to play Conchar, Brooks, all those guys. Because they're still a good team, like you said, and they fast pace, high totals.
Yep.
And that's where you get the values to go stars and scrubs.
I love it, man. I love it. All right. Hey, we'll connect soon on that. Dude, it's awesome to see you. So glad that we
don't get another hurricane, and I'll be on every week.
We will hope that you don't for sure. Yeah. All right, dude. Have a great night.
You too.
After a 3-week hiatus where I could not match my schedule up with Phil, we got Phil back. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, how's everybody doing? My Michigan Wolverines are now 10-0, like I told you 10 weeks ago. The Lions have won twice since I bagged on the coach Dan Campbell. I still think he should be fired. I think he's garbage, and I think it's time for him to go.
But the Lions are on a winning streak.
Well, that's okay. I'm going to continue this mantra. I know that they're not going to fire him, but as long as I'm a very superstitious guy. You know, I commented on Twitter the other day. Hockey players change the tape on their blades when they want to change their luck. It's a superstition. And I just said, tennis players do the same thing. I figured I was talking to sports people who would understand that would be the grip, but apparently they misunderstood me, and I don't feel like clearing it up. If you're that obtuse and you don't know that I coached for 38 years, then maybe you should probably not answer my questions or comment on my threads.
Well, Phil, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, speaking of superstitions, but I keep wearing the purple hat instead of the black one because the Vikings haven't lost since I switched to this. So I haven't put on my favorite hat for, 6 or 7 weeks now or whatever. As long as the Vikings win, I'm not changing either. So
why should you? You know what?
No,
I have the same Michigan sweatshirt, the same, my ratty Michigan hat, not the good one with the all blue. But I had this on 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago when I started running my mouth about the Wolverines. And so I'm going to keep it on there again. I feel like it's important.
We're on the same page here, man. You and I are responsible for our team's winning streak. So we got to keep it going.
I totally believe that I am. In fact, if they go down on Sunday, or Saturday, I turn the game off. I go watch something else.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's going to happen this week. So
no, they're going to smash the Illinois team. Those guys are sorry. And then next week, oh boy.
Oh, that's the big one.
The second big one. The big one is Michigan State. That's the big one.
Okay.
The team from down south, you know what? They don't have a rival in their state. So they had to go find one. And, they picked the wrong one because Michigan has dominated the series. They dominate in every sport. Michigan does. But that's the difference between a state school and a private school, I guess. Anyway, we're talking about college or NFL football today, right?
That's that's where we're headed, but it's all right to take a little detour through college to get there. That's
Hey, I've been
pretty all
having a
right.
good I've been having a good season in college, except for a couple of those Maction games didn't turn out. But
Maction can be rough, but yeah, you are doing awesome overall. So
awesome
um,
overall. I
yep.
wish that I wish the NFL was the same way, but it hasn't treated me well. The props I did a few weeks back were really good, and I can just live off those, and just hope for the best. Like I'm going to hope that the Chicago Bears pull off the upset over the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Is that
I'm
pick number one for you?
Yeah, that will be my underdog. I'm
All
taking them
right.
on the money line. $1.50 there. I like what Justin Fields is doing. The Atlanta Falcons, man, they got me 2 times in a row. No, I just don't buy it any longer. I mean, Marcus Mariota, it's a nice story that he's come back and he's starting, but I believe on one leg that I could throw it for as many yards as he can or does per game. I think that I could do that. I'm not sure that I could, but I'll be like the rest of the amateur world and think that I can be better than a pro athlete.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, let's just assume that you're absolutely right on that one. I'm pretty sure you are as good on one leg as Marcus Mariota is on two.
I can cook on
That's
one leg now.
the fact. Oh, that's good, Phil. I'm glad you can cook. That's nice to be able to do.
You ain't
So,
lying there, man, because eating out of that tuna fish can for the first 2 or 3 weeks, that was a toughie there, boy. I was really glad they had the pull tops. That's a mother to do this on one leg. Oh my God. It's a lot of fun, man. I tell you what, people say I should have been filming this. No, you don't want me to film this. My smile is here in public, but I was cussing under my breath, cussing out loud. You name it. Whew, what a
you
harsh
could have had
injury.
you could have had a reality TV show, Phil,
Oh
for
yeah.
those weeks.
I still could. In fact, that may be my next step. We'll see.
Hey, there you go. That's the
But
next thing to pursue. I like it.
but I need to be on 2 legs because I say a lot of things, and I think it's important that I have 2 legs in case I have to defend myself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll put it off for a little
But
while.
I like
So,
the Bears this week. Honest to goodness, I do. I'm not. Atlanta was a darling, 6-0 right off the bat against the spread. Remember,
yep,
and they
totally.
haven't done so well lately.
Yep.
Cordarell is back, or Daryl. He's been a nice piece.
Yeah.
They have good things there, but they also don't. And I'm not sure they're trying to win either. Um, but the Bears, eh, Justin Fields, and I've been harsh towards him, but I
Me
have to
too.
say, he seems to really turn it around. He's playing more like he did with Ohio State, that reckless abandon.
Yeah.
And that reckless thing works apparently
Yep.
for him. So
Yep.
why not? So I'm going to take the Bears at a
I
buck
like
and a
it.
half. I
All
believe
right.
I got that at Pinnacle.
Okay. Awesome. What's pick number 2?
Ooh, this is a toughie, but I'm going to take the Washington Redskins over the Houston Oilers.
Okay.
I'm waiting for John Riggins to come out of retirement. Riggo, come on, baby. But no, all joking aside, I think that Washington is playing really well. Um, how does it feel to be Carson Wentz? You're in Philly, you're leading this team, right? You get
Yeah.
hurt, and Nick Foles walks in and steals your thunder and becomes the MVP, and you sit there and watch him. And now he gets to sit and watch Taylor Heinicke resume his own role as a starting quarterback that was supplanted by some foolishness.
Yep.
Carson Wentz is going to wind up being one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, though, because he can play. But I like what Washington is doing. Scary Terry, look at him play. What a nice story he is. I know he went to the wrong school, but you know what? You can't help that. He couldn't get into the private school, so he went to the state school. We respect that though, because he is
That's good.
something. Of course, I do. I don't respect them in the field of play though. That's different. But
Understood.
anyway, you know what I don't like about Houston is
What?
they just can't score. They've scored 76 points over their last 5, and they're 1-4 in those games. The Bears don't score much either, but they seem to start to now. Chase Claypool, what a great distraction he is. He's not a really good football player. He went to
No,
Notre
he's
Dame, for
not.
goodness sakes. But at the end of the day, I still think that the Washington Commanders, I'll give you your proper due.
You did it.
I did, yeah. I don't have my cheat sheet. They change these names so often, I forget. But I just like Washington. 3-1 as a starter, this kid is. It was his team last year. I thought they were decent last year with him. And I believe Chase Young comes back this week. Another guy who went to the wrong school, but it's okay. You know why? Because he's going to aid my victory Sunday. So I will accept him and McLaurin into the family for one weekend.
I was going to say, I got to tell you, it's kind of fun watching you lean on so many Buckeyes to get you a victory.
Yeah, but there aren't that many really to lean on. So I always pick the ones where two of them or more because, when you're in college, it's one thing. When you go to the pros, it's a different thing. And you have to have all the pieces in place and not just, I can run for 99 yards and score touchdowns. You have to be able to do more. And Ohio State players are pretty much one-dimensional. There aren't too many that are great.
But you got two that are pretty decent this weekend.
At least we hope so this Sunday.
That's
Because
right.
if you can't beat Houston, you shouldn't be in the NFL, and I firmly believe that.
All right. Well, we got 2 down and 1 to go.
Well, here comes
How do you want
another
to wrap
one.
it up?
I'm going to wrap it up with the Philadelphia Eagles -6.5 at 110. I believe that was Pinnacle. All these, I believe, were at Pinnacle, Trevor. I mean, Tasty. And so
Awesome.
what I'm seeing is a bounce back from Philly. Hey, look, Washington, they were okay earlier this week. They were. They'll be okay against Houston. But Philly kind of feels like they embarrassed themselves. They seemed, the body language when they left the field wasn't exactly the best. And a lot of that has to do with the quarterback. He's a nice player, great player, but maybe he's not exactly the prototypical NFL quarterback, if you will. And maybe if everything doesn't go right, things go wrong for them and they don't how do I put this? They don't overcome adversity like maybe they should because they haven't really been tested and they haven't played that many teams. But the Colts are bad. They just are. I mean, okay, you went in and beat Las Vegas, but jeez, I mean, you and I could probably do a 2-man against those guys.
And
As
you on
long as,
one leg.
yeah, and on one leg. As long as we don't get into any vehicles with these guys, we should be all right. But at the end of the day, and this is the truth, Philadelphia Eagles are a really good football team. The Indianapolis Colts are not a good football team. I love the little Saturday thing. People are talking crap about this guy. They brought him back to coach, right?
Yep.
Who else is going to take that job? He's a great bridge. They already know their season's over. I mean, it was over the day they signed Matt Ryan. I didn't realize it until 2 weeks after the season started that was a mistake. And they probably didn't either. Maybe they've prematurely fired their coach, but let's just face it, they weren't that good. They really weren't. They do things that are silly. And the Eagles, that defense is legit. I don't care what you saw Monday night. You can't. It's so difficult to go undefeated in any sport. I was 3-0 as a junior, and then I lost once, and that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. I think it was 30-0, but I'm trying to be humble. Anyway, when I lost, because my coach, I see almost every day still. Or I talk to him almost every day, and he reminds me of that. He says, you learn more from losing than you ever can from winning. And that's something that I share with my students. And I think the Eagles learned something about themselves. They learned that, okay, maybe we had a cushy schedule, we still won. But now we got to keep winning because we are in a tough division
They
or
are.
seemingly tough division. And
Yep.
I think they come out and they slap the Colts silly. And they cover the 6.5. That's my thing. And all the other stuff, the sound bites, that was extra.
Yep. I can't disagree with you on that one, man. So I'm gonna record mine here soon, and people will hear me repeating some of what you just said, because I think that what you're saying about Philadelphia rings very true for me. I think they're a very good team, and I don't think one loss in the NFL should get us off thinking they're a good team.
No, or the 7-0, the 7-0 or 8-0 start, whatever they were, doesn't mean they're a great team either. But they're better than this team.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to be better than this team. So
No, if they played Houston again, that was a game opening day. I lost. I took the Colts to cover and they
oh,
didn't.
me too.
Yeah, so they've been on
Yeah.
my shit list ever since, really, because that was not a good start to my NFL season. It gave me agita. I didn't need that. I have enough going on in my life. But I like the Bears on the money line. I like the Washington Commanders -3 over the Houston Texans, and I like the Eagles -6.5 over the Indianapolis Colts.
I love it, Phil. Good to see you again. Make sure you go follow at Cash with Flash. And if you do, you will see a lot of coverage on Covers and other places of college football, some NFL, all kinds of stuff. Good information that Phil's putting out basically on a daily basis.
Pretty
Anything
much
else?
Nope, that's it. Pretty much a daily basis. Maybe next week I have something new to say to you.
Every week's every week something new, Phil.
Every 5 minutes for me, brother.
Hey, keep resting up, man. It's great to see you. Keep
great to
getting
see you
well,
too.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks a lot. You all have a great, great weekend, fellas and ladies.
All right, it's time for me to wrap things up with my 3 picks for the week. Let's jump right into it. The first one, no one's going to be surprised if you have listened to any of this video, as it's come up a couple times, and I've already shared a little bit, so I won't go too in depth, but it's just a couple things I'll say. I sort of have a theme this week, at least for my first, well, in a sense, all 3 of my picks follow this theme, and the theme is they are who we thought they were. I feel like this is the week where I've seen some of the most overreaction to things that happened in a single week in the NFL. And maybe that's not everyone. Maybe it's just what I'm seeing on Twitter, just what I'm hearing on podcasts, whatever. But just feel like there's been a lot of overreaction. And I think there's a few teams who are more of what we thought they were before the last week or so. And I'm rolling with those teams this week. So first up, Philadelphia -3.5 first half. They've been a great first half team all year. They have the ability to dominate on both sides of the ball. I know that the run game has been their deficiency. We talked about this some. Jonathan Taylor, that is the threat here, that he's able to get it going and keeps the game close and low scoring. But hopefully some of the pickups they've had, if they can play, Joseph and Sue can help to clog up the middle a little more. Hopefully the defense adjusts the scheme to stop the run more strongly. Matt Ryan is not all of the sudden a great quarterback. Jalen Hurts and the offense aren't all of the sudden terrible. Now, hopefully Brown plays and is somewhat healthy, but I just think that this is an instance of a top 5 team versus a bottom 5 team, or at least bottom 7 or something in the league. I don't buy the Colts at all off of one win, and I don't fade the Eagles at all off of one loss. These things happen in the NFL. So I definitely don't mind the full game here. I know some people took that, and I'm actually on the full game for a little bit personally, but my more confident play and the play that I've put more money on so far is the first half. So Philly -3.5, that's a confidence level 3 pick for me. Again, I've had a couple down weeks in a row, so that can mess with the confidence, but this is one of my top 3 most confident picks in the NFL this season to this point. So maybe I'll come back with my tail between my legs next week, but that's where I'm at on this pick. Second, I'm going to go to Buffalo, the team that my Vikings miraculously took out last week. And Buffalo has had a bit of a rough go of it. After a phenomenal start to the season, they have definitely stumbled. A lot of that stumbling has been because of injuries, though, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have just been hammered, and that has significantly impacted their ability. I was looking back at their scores, and while it's, up and down here and there, man, they were holding teams down defensively while they scored a lot of points, and now they've struggled a little bit more. And I think, honestly, when the defense holds a team down, they get a lead, they can even open things up a little bit more. So I understand why the Bills have stumbled, but I think this is a great get-right spot for them. Number one, they're getting a little bit healthier. Talked about that with Yanni. They're not going to be all the way healthy. The way Yanni described it was they should have a reasonable injury report rather than a debilitating one. So that helps a little bit. But also, Cleveland keeps proving over and over that they're just not a great team. They come out of the gate okay. It seems like when they have those scripted plays at the beginning of the game, they tend to do all right. But once that script is over, they stumble offensively. Their defense, especially in the secondary, has been incredibly problematic, and you don't want to be in that spot against the Bills. I talked with D about how I kind of wish this game had stayed in Buffalo because I think there are more edges you can play, but it stinks they're away from home, but they are going to be where the weather isn't an issue. And I just think that, again, Buffalo is a much better team than Cleveland, in my estimation. And Buffalo has put themselves in a position now where they need to win games. It's not like they can come in and overlook the Browns because they've only got one loss or no losses on the season. They're at 6-3. And if they want to have a chance at the number 1 seed, and if they want to hang on to the division, they need to put some wins together. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to lay a little bit of juice, and I'm going to take Buffalo -7, -128. I thought about playing this game a couple ways. One was just taking the 7.5 because earlier in the season when Buffalo was beating people, they were blowing them out. And because of that, I thought about even taking Buffalo -13.5 as my plus money pick. If you feel confident on Buffalo, I don't think that that's a terrible way to go. I also thought about taking Buffalo first half to reduce that number a little bit. But like I said, Cleveland sometimes comes out and is good in the first quarter, so I didn't necessarily want to do that either. So I'm just going to pay the juice to get it down to the -7. I'm going to give that a confidence level 2 and take Buffalo -7, -128. And then for my plus money pick, as people say, it's an ugly one, but I'm going to go there. Houston Texans +141. I wrestled a lot with what to do on this pick, but here's why I'm going to take it. Couple factors. Number one, Houston is better at home this year. Let's see if I can find where I wrote this down. At home, averaging 17.8 points per game, away 15.6. Neither of those is a great number. I fully acknowledge that. It's not like I think the Texans are a good team. In addition, Davis Mills has been better at home than he has been on the road. Again, not phenomenal either place, but an 84.5 passer rating versus 79.7, 7 TDs and 5 interceptions at home, 4 TDs and 4 interceptions on the road. So he's not a great quarterback, but he seems to be more comfortable at home. They also are getting a little bit healthier. So I think that Dameon Pierce is going to be able to run the ball here, some against that Washington front. And if you look at Washington, this for me is much more a fade play on Washington than it is any kind of confidence on Houston. Washington is a team that for a while now I have felt is one of the worst teams in football, bottom 4, I would say. And while they have looked a little bit better the past few weeks, they're coming off a win over Philadelphia in a divisional game, and I think people are just going to overestimate them now. Taylor Heineke is a good teammate and a good player, but I still don't think he's a good quarterback. And I think he's due for some regression. Even though they were able to run it against Philly some, I think they're actually going to struggle more against the Texans to do that. And as a couple people pointed out, even on this podcast, their yards per carry were still not very high. So even though they were able to do enough to keep the ball, it's not like they were dominating even against an Eagles team that has been injured up front and struggled against the run. So I don't think that Washington's offense is in some kind of great shape where they're just going to go out and crush people. And I don't think their defense is great either. That's so generic. What a stupid thing to say. Looking at the metrics for on both sides of the ball, again, I think this is a bottom 4 or 5 team in the league. Houston certainly is that as well. And I would say Washington is a better team than Houston. But in this specific situation with Washington coming off that win over Philadelphia, Houston going back home and getting a little bit healthier, I'm going to go ahead and take the shot. I do certainly like Houston +3.5 much better if you can get that, or even +3 with the chance of the push, because I think this game could be close, but I need to have a plus money play, and this is the best spot that I like. I am giving this the dreaded 1 confidence. So if you're going to tail this, tail it very gently. I, in fact, am only putting half a unit on this play instead of a whole unit or 2 units, as I often do on the plays I share on this show. So just saying up front, it's certainly not my most confident play, but in terms of plus money, it's one of the spots I like best for this week. That's going to wrap it up. A little bit longer show today, but I think had some fun. We're able to talk through a lot of different things. I will likely this afternoon even be posting some of the plays on Twitter, but hopefully listening to the breakdowns and everything gives you a little bit more information so you can decide what you think the good spots are for tailing, fading, or staying away. Please do hit that like button if you're on YouTube, and even more than that, subscribe to the channel so you get all the content that's coming out, and it helps me out a ton. If you're listening to the podcast, rate and review. 5 stars would be tremendously appreciated. Have a great weekend. Go win some bets. I'll talk to you next week.